Hello, everybody, and welcome to another film podcast episode, which is another holiday episode since I already done the Halloween specials of the Universal Studios Monsters, and I thought, why not do like a Thanksgiving film episode to talk? Well, I know I done some research that there's not much of Thanksgiving film movies that I've never seen in my life. I mean, if you know what I mean. But I do know this one Thanksgiving movie that I've always wanted to do a podcast of, to talk about the classic 1987 film by John Hughes, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And we have a special guest here for tonight. Please welcome back to the Monster Island Film Vault himself, Nathan.
Hello, Brendan.
I'm glad to have you back, and I haven't had you on my episode since Dracula. We did
Dracula, yeah. And that was at least on brand because you talk about monsters and you just switched over to talking about the Universal monsters. This has got to be the most off-brand movie I think either one of us have talked about because this isn't a monster movie at all.
Yeah, and I was gonna have Daniel Minana from the Godzilla novelization, but sadly he couldn't make it.
That's because he works for a company that forgets he's a human being and not a cog in the machine.
Let's hope he is watching us.
Yeah, I hope he is. I'm sure he could use some entertainment.
Yeah,
while he's been being worked like a robot in desperate need of some oil.
Yeah, and Daniel, if you're watching this, I just want to let you know we miss you having on our show.
yeah. Although you did start a couple minutes early.
Yeah, and I know on my channel, on my podcast, I always been talking about Godzilla and other giant kaiju monsters, and of course the Universal monsters. But I think this is like my first podcast that I ever talk about a non-kaiju film. This is just a normal
non-monster movie, yeah.
Yeah, it's just I think this is my first Thanksgiving film episode I talk about.
There aren't very many Thanksgiving movies.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the only Thanksgiving film I know. I mean,
there are others. There just aren't many.
Yeah, and I'm been looking forward to talk about this classic film, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
I know. From what I understand, if I understand correctly, I should say this is one of your favorite movies.
Yeah, one of my favorite John Hughes films. One of my favorites.
Oh. Well, what other John Hughes movies have you seen?
Well, he did Home Alone, right?
No, that was Chris Columbus.
Well, didn't he wrote it? I mean,
I don't believe so, but I will double check here really quick. John Hughes was might want to shut off my messenger there so we don't get any background noise. But no, John Hughes was known for doing teen dramas, which is why this was a surprise. It was a departure when he was known for for that sort of thing, because it's definitely not a teen drama.
Yeah, and well, I know another film that he did. Like I think it was a year or two after he made this film called The Gray Outdoors.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I stand corrected. We double check here. Yes, he was the writer of Home Alone. I stand corrected, but he didn't direct it. That was Chris Columbus. I knew that for sure.
Yeah, and
The Great Outdoors.
Yeah, that was starring Johncandy in it and Dan Aykroyd. Wish I met Dan Aykroyd 2 times back then.
All right. Well, yeah, and unfortunately, he hasn't directed a movie since 1991.
Wow.
Well, something called Curly Sue was his last film But before that, well, he's only got a handful of movies to his name, weirdly enough. But his directorial credits include 16 Candles, which is a big one, The Breakfast Club, which I have seen, and Weird Science. I did not know wrote. He wrote and directed Weird Science. I may have to watch that now, even though I'm surprised I
Oh
haven't
yeah,
gotten to it.
those.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That's his really like Breakfast Club and Ferris Bueller's Day Off are his two big ones.
Oh, Spiller's Day Off. And let me
Yeah.
be.
They that stars the guy who gets to fight not Godzilla later on in his life, and they have Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. She's having a baby, and Uncle Buck, which also had John Candy in it. I
Yeah,
haven't seen
I
that
seen
one.
that one.
I haven't seen that one yet. And then Curly Sue.
I
He's got a bunch of movies that he's
Mhm.
written. He's written a ton of movies.
Yeah, I actually watched Uncle Buck for the first time, like back in 2020. That was the year my first time I ever watched that film, because that was the year that I first become an uncle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the reason why this is the reason why I'm growing back a mustache for this episode, because I want to be like John Candy's character of this film, Del Griffin.
Del, yeah.
Yeah, like, I know you, do I? I'm usually very, very good with names, but I'm damn if I haven't forgotten yours.
Yeah, watching this reminded me. I know a guy who's a lot like John Candy, and it made me snicker a little bit. His name is Dallas Mora. He runs several podcasts, like was a Com Talk for Geek Devotions and The Bottom Shelf. He runs an organization called Geek Devotions. He and I have been friends for a long time. I've had him on the Monster on Phone Call a couple of times.
And so anyway, yeah, since we're talking about this film, let's talk about how we first discovered this film, like I always bring up in my previous episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you want to start, or me?
You go ahead.
I remember I haven't started watching this film since my stepdad started dating my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was like 10 years ago, and I think my stepdad is the one who introduced me to this film. And we usually watched it on every Thanksgiving holiday. I mean, this Thanksgiving month, however you want to call it.
Well, for what I've read, it's actually a tradition for a lot of people to watch on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I mean, I know some people some people can watch this film. It doesn't always have to be the month of Thanksgiving. I mean, they just watch it like in summertime, Christmas, spring, and I mean, to me, I watch it sometimes outside of Thanksgiving, and I just watched it like a week ago with my stepdad and my mom. Yeah, and that movie never gets old to us. And when I saw this for the first time, like, I died laughing of every scene, and I kind of enjoying it. And that's how I first discovered that film. But let me tell you a strange story. I mean, I remember that one time that the Music Box Theater in Chicago, right?
I'm aware of it, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was not too far from the Pickwick Theater.
Okay. That might be why it sounds familiar.
I know the Music Box is kind of like the Pickwick Theater. It's like the old theater classic style. I mean, I remember they had this one event going on at that Music Box in Chicago, and me and my stepdad went there because they're doing an event to show the film Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and there was an intro of an introduction of John Hughes' son was there. Yeah, he was there to talk about the film and about Steve Martin and John Candy and how they worked together. They were great pals.
Oh, It's because John Hughes died in 2009. I just now saw this. That explains a lot.
Yeah, I mean, his son was at the music box when me and my stepdad went to see the film.
Mm.
He did talk about the film and then his dad, and yeah, it was so sad that John Hughes died in 2011. You said
9.
9. Yeah, I mean, and this is why I want to do this episode.
Oh, his kid's name is John Hughes the Third. Well, and he also has a son named James.
Oh. So yeah, that's why I'm doing this episode in the memory of John Hughes and John Candy.
Mm.
It's I've always been a huge fan of John Candy, and it's so sad that he died. Like
I was trying to remember when he died. Let me see.
I think it was
1994. Dang.
30 years ago. Yeah, 30 years of his death, and he died young. It was like,
yeah. Want to know how I first discovered John Candy? There was a cartoon on when I was a kid that was called Camp Candy.
Camp Candy.
And it starred John Candy. He was a camp counselor trying to keep a bunch of kids from getting into all kinds of shenanigans. Yeah, I'm going to look it up. I haven't talked about Camp Candy in forever. Almost nobody even knows that it exists anymore. Let me look that up. Might help if I spelled it correctly. Let me see. Camp Candy TV series. See. Produced by Deke and Saban. Interesting. But it ran from, I think it's 1989 to 92 or 93, somewhere around there. Let me see. 38 episodes. Yeah, it was on for about 3 years.
Do you want to know how I first discovered John Candy?
How's that?
The Gray Outdoors. The one I just brought up, and another comedy by John Hughes. And I think before that, I first discovered him on Home Alone, in the first film.
Oh yeah, I saw him in that one too, pretty early on.
Yeah, and believe me, I haven't seen The Gray Outdoors in a long time. It's just a great comedy.
Yeah.
And are you still looking up the list?
Yeah. I'm just looking at some stuff, trying to remind myself what the show was even about. But yeah. I have some memories of watching this.
So I want to talk about the cast. I mean, we already talked about John Candy. I mean, let me just say that John Candy's character is.
Well, wait, don't you want to know how I discovered this movie?
Oh, yeah. I thought you were. Oh, yeah.
No. It'll be quick. I've been aware of this movie for a long time, but true confession time, Brendan. This was the first time I've seen it.
Wait, this is your first time watching Planes, Trains, and Automobiles this year of this month? You're not kidding. This is why I wanted Daniel to join us. He knows every classic film.
He doesn't know all of them, but yeah.
I know I should have brought my stepdad to join us.
I've seen some other John Hughes movies, but yeah, I haven't seen this one, which is kind of funny because I kind of lived it a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean,
I actually went on a trip down to Texas with my friend Eric Anderson of Nerd Chapel, and guess what we did on that trip? We rode planes, trains, and automobiles.
Really?
We lived this movie, minus all of the insane shenanigans, like setting a rental car on fire and things like that. And we actually like each other and have been friends for years. So that was really different. But we flew down there on a plane. We rode a train from one city to another in Texas. And then to get around in each one of those cities, we had to get Ubers and Lyfts. So we had planes, trains, and automobiles. The only thing we didn't take was a bus.
Yeah,
But we had all the
Flintstones.
but we had all of the vehicles in the title.
Were you guys singing the Flintstones theme? I mean, oh wait, you guys said you didn't ride the bus.
We didn't ride the bus.
So you just relived the experience of this film when you already explained.
Yeah, but we were doing stuff in Texas. We weren't trying to get to Chicago, which actually amused me quite a bit because I'm thinking it's like, oh yeah, O'Hare. I've been to O'Hare.
Yeah,
we had to get our flights actually in O'Hare.
Yeah, speaking of O'Hare, I mean,
and that's just down the street from G-Fest, and
yes.
we have Steve Martin, the actual Steve Martin, not Steve Martin the reporter. See, yeah. I can make kaiju connections with this, even if they don't make a lot of sense.
I mean, they did show the O'Hare Chicago airport in the film. It is during the snowstorm. I remember when I just saw this film last week with my parents, and then when the Chicago O'Hare airport shows up, I was like, hey, that's where G-Fest is. Yeah, because that airport is not that far from G-Fest.
No, and it's an interesting place. I walked around there. They have a World War II airplane on display, like it's a museum. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, and I just thought of this, and I remember at G-Fest on the day before the first day. I mean, I remember this is kind of like a planes, trains, and automobiles story. I mean, I remember when I was using Lyft to go to the Pickwick Theater to see The Return of Godzilla. I mean, I remember when the Lyft car arrived. I mean, I think a few moments before it arrives, I remember one of Neil's friends who we had on one of our previous episodes from the past. I mean, one of his friends showed it. He was asking me are you going to the Pickwick Theater? Because he doesn't ride to get there. He says, yeah, I said to him, you can ride with me. And listen, I mean, because he was seeing the same film that I was going to see. So we did. I mean,
and then you set the car on fire.
No. But the Lyft car arrived, and we both got in, and we actually. This is kind of like the scene in the airplane when Neil is sitting next to Dell saying, "I never did introduce myself, Dell Griffin."
Yeah.
This is kind of like that. We just.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
But anyway, you were saying the cast. So we have John Candy, we have Steve Martin. Those are our big stars. I knew they were going to be in it going in. And like I said, I've seen some of their work before. It was interesting seeing them together in this. Yeah. Because I'm not used to Steve Martin being the straight man in the comedy duo.
Yeah, and I've always remembered Steve Martin in one of my favorite Hulu's shows of Only Murders in the Building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been around for a while. He got his start.
Have you ever
I haven't seen that, but I've seen some of his movies.
Yeah,
and he got his start in the 70s on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, he's been some films, and he's did up stage comedy with Martin Short.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he's worked with a bunch of people. And
yeah, I mean, I know that Martin Short and Steve Martin did work a lot. I mean, they especially Only Murders in the Building, which it has my celebrity crush in it, Selena Gomez.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so yeah, so Steve Martin's character is like a hilarious and serious character.
Well, he's funny because he's taking everything so seriously, because he's the opposite of Dell.
Yeah, I mean, Adele in John Candy's character, he's like a hilarious and kind character in this, and
Mhm.
I know that
He's very quirky.
yeah, and Neil's like he's only seen him as like he as a stranger. I mean, ever since they met in New York, and then
Mhm.
they Dell. I mean, Dell took the cab. I mean, he didn't even notice he was that Neil was paid that other guy because he wants to get in the cab, and
Yeah.
yeah, I love that part. Saying, "You're about with the wrong guy." Which is that line was also in this little music theme when he was frustrated because the car was missing, and it's like with this rap, it's like I love that theme. Oh, but
Yeah, the music in this is pretty good. Is actually surprisingly good. It was more memorable than I thought it would be.
yeah,
Our what is our what's the name of our composer? James Ira Newborn.
yeah, I especially love the theme of Dell's speech in the hotel room, and also the theme plays again in the ending when Neil's on the train on this way home.
Mm-hmm. Did you know there's a post credit scene?
Yeah, there are also post credit.
I was
Well,
wondering if you knew.
you mean there's another scene after the credits?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that later. I mean, I will. So yeah, I mean, I like to see Martin's character and John Candy. I mean, and I'll never forget when, when they're at the airport, they met again. I mean, I love the way how they read books and he's like staring at each other, strange, and then she show the Dell in this jacket, and there's like a taxi car door in front of him. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
I like that part. It was,
I thought you were talking about when they're at the hotel and Dell reads
no,
he reads a book with a lighter. I'm like, why?
yeah,
I get it. This is before book lights were a thing, but I don't want fire close to my book.
yeah, I'm talking about the
Fire
airport
hazard.
Yeah. And I love the way how, believe me, Nathan, I remember every line in this. Like, I like he said, like, I know you, do I? I'm usually very good with names when I do, if I haven't forgotten.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let's test that. You're a thief.
Well, I remember he says, like, you stole my cab.
No, it's at the beginning when he's talking to that one guy. Yeah. He says, you're a thief. And what did the guy say?
Oh, wait, when he was at the office,
No, when he was trying to chase down the cab. And he says, you stole the cab. So he says, you're a thief.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, but do you remember what the guy said back to him?
Who?
The guy, the stranger who got the cab before he did. He says, you stole the cab from me.
Oh, yeah, Dell?
No, it was somebody else.
Oh, the guy was like who was trying to get the cab first, but
Yeah,
Neil
and
had
he was like, "Oh, pay me $50 and you can have it."
yeah, and he did, and then after he paid the guy, when he turned, he noticed the cab was missing. It was like, hey, that's my cab.
Yeah. I was just asking if you remember what he said in response.
I don't.
Steve Martin said, "You're a thief," and the guy said, "Close. I'm an attorney."
Well, as I was saying, I remember after I was saying this line, I remembered after Dell's line, he said, like, you stole my cab.
Mm-hmm.
I never stole anything in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I held the cab near Park Avenue, and you stole it. It was like, you're the guy trying to get my cab.
Yeah.
I knew you. Yeah. It's good of a Jesus out of me.
Sure.
I said, come to think of it, it was tough getting a cab during rush hour. Yeah.
John Candy has all the best lines in this movie.
Yeah. Like, and I did a good impression of him. It's like, I am sorry. I have
Still
no
$1 million
idea that was the
short of
cab.
Still $1 million short of being a millionaire.
Yeah, I love he was trying to make it up to Neil. It's like, let me make it up to you. How about a nice hot dog and a beer? No thanks. Just a hot dog, Dan. No
Mhm.
coffee, Slurpee, no, sir, please. Just let me know. I know I knew you. I love it. He said that. I mean, he does. His, me and my stepdad knows. We know every line in this film. I mean, also, did you know there was a well, first, when they were writing the script for this film, the script was going to be like over 3 hour long film, but they had to cut down some scenes and some lines, and then that film was going to be over 2 hours. But when the studio came to see this, they wanted to cut it down to over an hour.
I can't imagine that you can make this work for 3 hours.
Yeah, I just like believe me, I already explained that this film has a lot of deleted scenes. There's some scenes that survive, and it was shown in the special features on the
Mhm.
Blu-ray 4K disc. I mean, like on the airplane scene, and
Right.
some of them were never were still in the vaults, like somewhere around the world,
Mhm.
but. Uh,
Yeah, it would I could see how it could be 3 hours, but I don't think that there wouldn't necessarily be a lot of story happening because this is a road trip movie. That is an actual genre is road trip movie. Anytime you see a movie that is about people going on a really long trip and the long trip is the entire story of the movie, you know.
yeah.
That's why this is a road trip movie because Neil, Steve Martin, is trying to get back to his family for Thanksgiving because he's on a business trip and he has to get from New York to Chicago and he keeps getting diverted everywhere. And every time he gets on something else to get himself to Chicago, everything goes wrong. And then he gets stuck with Dell, John Candy, who says, like, oh, just let me help you out. Well, and then we find out that there's kind of another reason why Dell is helping him out, and it's kind of sad. I was a little
Yeah,
suspicious of it as time went on watching this. So when we got the big revelation, we're like, oh yeah, kind of figured.
yeah, but I will get to that in just a moment. I mean, I know this is supposed to be 3 hours. I mean, and some fans around the world, lots of fans say they wish they have an extended uncut version of this film, the 3 hour long version. I mean, but it never happened. I mean, yeah, but some scenes survive thanks to the Hughes family
Mm-hmm.
of John Hughes's family. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like the some scenes at the hotel and the burning car scene after Will's burn that they left that motel
Mm-hmm.
and and also so they it if they're gonna make it if they're gonna make it a if they're gonna release an extended cut version, I mean, you know, if they're gonna add that to a Blu-ray disc, you know, which studio they should have, they should, you know, which studio they should have made a Blu-ray version of the extended version of, you know, with Shout Factory. I just wish, I just, I just wish that if Shout Factory bought the rights to this film, added to a Blu-ray disc, they should add the extended version.
Yeah, they would get distribution rights because it's owned by Paramount and Paramount's not going to give it up, but they can license it to Shout Factory to release.
Yeah, kind of like that the 76 King Kong Blu-ray release that Shout Factory was released. Also, that film was also owned by Paramount.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think because it's been released on Blu-ray twice now,
It, yeah, because the Shout Factory version of
which
King
is the one
Kong,
which is the one I have, and then Paramount put out another Blu-ray, which was basically just the same
yeah,
thing.
because
just with a different packaging.
the Shout Factory version also has the extended
Yep.
TV cut.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Like Shout Factory should have done something like that to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles if they bought the rights from Paramount.
Yeah, the distribution rights. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what a 3-hour version of this would look like, assuming they have all of that footage. But at the same time, I mean, with John Hughes isn't around anymore, I don't know if they would want to do an extended version if they couldn't have him be involved.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I did some research about this film. I mean, John Hughes did mention that he does have some extended scenes in the vault somewhere in the world, but that was like he said it before his death. I mean, but he never got the chance to find it and locate those lost scenes.
That's unfortunate. But while we're on the subject of the cast, we talked about the big stars, Steve Martin and John Candy. You know what I didn't expect? All the cameos.
Cameos.
Freaking Kevin Bacon is in this movie. He never talks, but he's in the movie.
Yeah, I just noticed in the beginning of the film, Kevin Bacon is in this one. Yep, the guy from Tremors, and
yes, the star of Tremors. and you have Ben Stein, who was he was the teacher in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which is another John Hughes movie. He was the airport attendant. He was like, "Attention, everyone!"
He was also from The Mask.
Yes, Ben Stein's been in a bunch of stuff,
and also that other motel manager guy was that was at this after the car was burned. That hotel manager guy, you know him. You know what he's from?
The hotel manager?
The other hotel manager, and
do you know?
Yeah, after the car was burned, he was from Jurassic Park as the lawyer.
Oh, that's right.
You did not know that was him?
It just now occurred to me because I was like, he looks familiar, but I'm not sure why. Oh, that's why he's the lawyer.
That's right.
Matthew Lawrence is in it. He's Neil Page Jr. So he's one of the little kids, and you had Michael McKean was the cop who pulls him over.
Yeah, lots of cameos, and I also laughed so hard at that one scene that
Bill Irwin is also in it.
Oh, and did you know, Nathan, that that one scene, like, I know there's a ton of these scenes, and that there at the airport scene, like when Neil was trying to get like a little famous one of those famous rows of seats and in the plane. I mean, one of those comfortable ones. I mean, I don't remember what they called it, but he was forced to get one of those seats by the one of those flight attendants. Telling him to sit in one of those normal seats with the row of people, but he got to sit next to Dell, and in that scene after he showed his chakra rings, I mean, we was talking, like, that one scene when he was talking, I mean, and then Neil interrupts and saying, "Look, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm just not much of a conversation guy." During that, I mean, before that, there was a line that was cut out of that scene where it was like a long lines of John Candy's lines. I mean, that Dell talks about his life a little bit. I mean, that line, the script of it was so long. I mean, they had to. It was so long. I mean, at the end of Dell's speech, I mean, that Neil interrupts him.
Mm.
Yeah, that part is that I already explained before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they actually cut that line down.
Mm-hmm.
And also, there was another deleted scene of that when, remember back then when they served food at the on the plane when dinner foods.
No, they still do that.
Really, they still do.
Yeah.
I thought they only served like mini bags of pretzels and peanuts.
Depends on how long the flight is. But you can actually still get meals on the plane.
Yeah, and there was like a deleted scene when they serve food on on the plane when Dell has a nice tray of food. I mean, I think it was salad, but Neil like has this strangest food. That's the only deleted scene that survived. I mean, so far. I mean, that when I look at it, it looks like he is eating some kind of moldy chicken with some sauce on it, but turns out it was like re-microwave lasagna.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is one of my favorite foods. Don't think of me as Garfield.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It turns out that it was lasagna that they reheated and reheated again because of all the delays.
Mm.
Yeah, it was like, I just wish like they should have kept it in the little mini fridge so it'll last longer, and then they should have kept reheated in the microwave. But it's so funny. I mean, you couldn't tell if it's like chicken or lasagna, but it is lasagna.
Okay. You have the Blu-ray and I don't. I had to stream this thing.
Well, I didn't watch it on Blu-ray. I watched it on Paramount Plus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so yeah, there's also another scene when after they eat, they have that Neil had a little brownie dessert that was on the tray right before he grabs it. Like there's some lady in the front row of his seat like pulls her hair back, and then he's just and the hair landed on his brownie.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, then Dell looked at it and says, "We're not gonna eat that." And then Neil says, "No." And Dell's like, "All right, I'll have it." And he just grabs it out of the lady's hair, and he asked that old man right next to Neil. He said, "Like, want half?" It was like, "Sure." And they both shared it. They actually ate like Neil's dessert, which it was a little spoiled. And there's also another lost scene in that too. That he was, I think, Dell was also going to share a bun with the old man that's next to Neil, but I think that old man was a little deaf of hearing it. It says, "Do you want the bun?" And I'm just fine, you know. But he's like, and then Neil speaks up for him. It's like, "No, do you want the bun?" And the old man says, "Oh, sure." Yeah, and they'll just give the old man the bun. Yeah, I mean, you did some of your research about this film, right?
I did a bit, yeah.
Yeah, like, and also there was another deleted scene at the first motel they stayed in that I don't know if you watched the original theatrical trailer.
No, I didn't. Well, maybe I did. I don't remember.
There was a surviving deleted scene that it was a little blurry and all a little square frame, and then there was a scene after they book into the room that they shared, and that Dell order pizza,
Mm.
and and then the pizza delivery boy showed up and it says deliver pizza. It says, and Dale was gonna pay for it from his wallet, but the problem is he can't find his wallet. He looked everywhere, he looked in his pants, but he actually borrowed money from Neil's wallet, and he pays the pizza guy from of Neil's money from his wallet. Well, that scene happened while Neil was in the shower.
Mm.
Yeah, and do you remember that one scene when after they went to sleep and then a burglar comes in and robs their wallet and then
Yeah.
took the money? Well, you know that robber was actually the pizza boy that I
Oh.
just mentioned.
Mm.
Yep, that robber was the pizza boy.
Mm.
After this happened, like after he delivers the pizza.
Mm. That makes more sense.
Yeah, and then I remember this line in the script, and then after Neil gets out of the shower, and he's like, "What's that smell? It's pizza.
Mm.
You order pizza? Yeah, it's good. If you want some,
Mm.
you're supposed to order me a salad. Where's the salad?" And then Dale said like, "They don't have a salad, but at least there's some lettuce, sausage, and some beans on the pizza." And I think I remember when he opened the pizza box, he sees there's only one piece left. I think that's far I can remember.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's so Neil has to eat one slice of pizza, which had happened in the trailer.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think there was also another scene. I mean, I think before the pizza delivery, I'm trying to remember. I think I remember when Neil's in the shower. I mean, and also like Dell comes in the bathroom and he starts flossing his teeth and then combing and he did a little Elvis impression. And
Oh, okay.
I think Neil doesn't know he's in there. It's like, what the? And I think I remember what he's. I don't remember any lines of that lost scene.
Okay. Speaking of that, just to make another kaiju connection, Dell putting his underwear in the sink reminded me of Son of Godzilla.
Oh, that like that one scene when it's like, hey, what's that stuff? I'm soaking dry vegetables, but that's the bag. I know, no one's ever uses it. This morning, Wario washed some clothes, and he look in there. It's like, is that the scene you were talking about?
Yep.
I didn't even thought of that. It's like, hey Neil, take my socks out of the sink if you're gonna brush your teeth, okay?
Speaking as someone who has spent several nights in a hotel with other dudes, yeah, it can get a little weird sometimes. Not quite to the level this does, but no one accidentally cuddled me. Yeah, when I've done this.
Are you talking? You're about to bring up my favorite scene, but let's get to that later. There's another lost scene that I remember. Like, I remember. Anyway, do you remember that one line that when they were about to get in bed and when they remember what Dell said before he cracked his knuckles and he says like, "I didn't know those beer cans were gonna shake up like that."
Yeah, there were a couple of points where I'm like, stuff happened in between scenes that we didn't get to see. One of them was the beer cans.
Yeah, there was a delete scene where when when the bed still vibrates and then when Dell opened the can of beer and he took it up, I mean, it spread everywhere. It's like, wow, and he puts down the can on the pizza. I think he put the can on the bed but the bed still vibrates. so the beer can just tips over and spilled on the bed,
Ah.
which is on Neil's side that he slept. Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember if I saw that scene. I think so. I mean, I also love the cracking sound that he did. And he twists his head, and then I like it make those snort sounds like.
As it was trying to clear, it was trying to clear his sinuses. That's what I figured.
Yeah, it was. I also love the part he did like this, like a.
Yeah,
and he was like, God. I was like,
yeah,
why?
There are easier ways to do that.
Yeah, it's like, why? If I don't clear my sinuses, I'll snore all night.
Yeah, there are easier ways to do that. You can get nasal strips that will do that for you now.
Yeah, like nasal spray and.
No, nasal strips. You put it on your nose and it stretches out your nostrils and lets air flow through it more easily.
And let's never forget that about Dell's speech, and he's that one speech he said, like, you want to hurt me? Go right ahead and makes you feeling better. Yeah, I talk too much. I also listen too much. Yeah, that's
because it's because he's a salesman. He has to talk and listen a lot. Part of his job.
Yeah, and
which I thought was interesting because that's exactly he's a salesman. That's what when you're a salesman. That's what you have to do. You have to talk to people, find out what they want, and you got to listen after you ask them what they want. So then you can start selling them things, like shower curtain rings, which is what he does.
Yeah, and
it also explains why he knows so many people. You notice that, like, every time they're like, we need to do something, and he's like, oh, I know a guy.
Yeah, and
he's such an outgoing dude that he just knows everybody.
Yeah, and did you know, Nathan, that first motel that they stayed in when that my stepdad told me that motel was actually was located in Joliet.
Joliet, Illinois?
Yep, Joliet.
Oh, I've been to Joliet, Illinois.
Yeah,
I had an ex-girlfriend there.
Oh, yeah, that
motel. Anyway,
yeah, that motel was located in Joliet. I mean, and I actually been to Joliet a few times. It's especially that one time that I visited that Joliet prison back in 2011 when I.
What'd you do?
Well, no, I visited the outside of that Joliet prison.
I was joking. Of course, you haven't been arrested. Why would you, the autistic lizard pro, get arrested for anything? You're so squeaky clean.
And anyway, so I did not do anything. I just visit outside the prison because if you're a fan of the Blues Brothers, then that is like the same prison when that Julia Jake was just got out of prison of that exact same prison that they filmed in the Blues Brothers in the beginning of that film.
So the motel, you talking about the one where the car gets set on fire? Or were they crashed through it with the wreck car? Or are you talking about another one?
The first motel they stayed in when the burglar came.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about that.
Because they stayed in several. I was just like, which one are we talking about?
No, that's the first motel they stayed in.
Okay. Because the one that sticks out the most to me, besides the one where they crash through it and run away, is the one where the redneck and his wife shows up with the pickup truck.
Yeah, no, that other motel, the one that they crashed into that wall. I mean, that was like, I think it was farther. I think it was between Wisconsin and I think it was farther from Chicago. Okay. Farther north, I think. I never been there, but that motel is still there to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think someone owned it. I mean, if I were to visit that motel, I would ask him if I could stay on room 6 because that's the room that they stayed in.
Oh, I'm sure that's a popular room.
Yeah, and it makes me feel like I'm in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and anyway, it's want to talk about one of my favorite scenes in that first motel that they stayed in after they robbed.
It's your show.
Yeah, the next morning that they woke up, I laughed so hard that Dell was cuddled up to Neil. It's like that's almost like a little gay moment, and
By accident.
yeah, I was like,
because remember they both just jumped up. I was like, wait, what are you doing? Where's your hand? Those aren't pillows.
yeah,
And then they
wait.
just like, so about those bears, you know.
I was gonna do the line.
They're just trying to get over how awkward it was.
I was gonna do the line. It was like, why are you holding my hand? It's like, where's your other hand? Between 2 pillows. Those are pillows. I love John Candy's scream at that part. I was like, me and my stepdad die laughing so hard at that scene. I just couldn't help it. Oh, I love it doing like this. Yeah, it's like, see that Bears game last week? Oh yeah, it cracks me up so much every time I watched it. I just rewatched that scene so much. I even recorded to make it like some slow motion and fast motion moments, like yeah. Even when I did that, it makes it more hilarious. And I also love the diner scene, and there's also another deleted scene of the waitress, and is I think it's something about the paycheck or something when they were eating breakfast in that diner. Yeah, I mean, and then when Neil finds out there's no money in it, it's like you went into my stuff last night. Did you? Didn't you? Like, I didn't take your money. And you know that one line he says, like, I have $700 in my wallet. You went into my wallet for some pizza. When he said that, which is a deleted scene. Yeah, and I also love that line saying, "Here, $200 in there. If there's a buck in there more, then you could call me a thief." Well, empty. What? And I laughed so hard at Neil's line, but before that, Neil's like, "We were robbed." You think so? This is why I love this film so much, that because of the best scenes and best lines, and also that hobo driver who gave them a lift. Yeah, I also know when he appears, I know him from somewhere. I mean, in some movies I know him in, like he was in the
which one are you talking about?
That hobo driver when he gave them a lift as Gus's son. The hotel owner's son.
Oh, the one, the redneck with his wife.
Yeah.
He
keeps spinning.
He has a pickup. He has a pickup truck. Yeah.
And he does this. Like,
that is what is that? Charles Tyner is the actor's name. Oh yeah. Oh wait, no. Gus Mooney, Owen's father, and a motel owner. Okay, wait, maybe not that one.
Well, I do recognize him. He was.
It's Dylan Baker is his name. Yeah, Owen Mooney, a man who lets Dell and Neil ride in the bed of his pickup truck. Because and then as I wrote a line from this guy because I was like, this guy's actually a little scary.
Yeah, and
And
that
I
act.
because the line I wrote down when he was talking about his wife, because she was saying like, oh, let her put your trunk in the in the pickup bed, the pickup truck bed, and she's like, no, we'll take care of it. It's like, what is it? Where is it? Is Oh, where I wrote it down. Where did it go? Oh, wait, he's talking about how strong his wife is. And he says, her baby came out sideways. She didn't scream or nothing.
and that actor who played him, I mean, I definitely know him. He was in the Spider-Man trilogy,
Yes.
the one with the Tobey Maguire, and
Mm-hmm.
he played the college teacher, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
he was Kurt Connors.
Yep, which he was supposed to be the Lizard in the trilogy, but he never did play the Lizard.
Nope, they had a different guy. Yeah, I'm just trying to find it. Yeah, Dr. Kurt Connors. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. The bus scene when they're on the bus and they're singing, and then especially those two couples and making out, and it's like, and Dale's like, "Hey, look, it's like dinner in a movie." And
but apparently you're not supposed to look, which is just weird to me. Is like they're like, if you're making out in public, why don't you want people to like? I don't know. Like it was the 80s.
Yeah,
I guess it was a different time. If that was happening now, people would be recording it with their phones and putting it all over social media.
I like the way Neil looked at it, and the guys looked at it saying, "Why don't you take a picture? It will last longer."
Yeah, that's why I say that is very 80s, because he's like, "Who you got caught?" Like, yeah, if you're doing, everybody would be looking. They would want people to be looking.
Yeah, and what was that song that Neil was trying to sing? That gets everyone to sing on the bus, and he's saying, 2 days and a month.
I wasn't quite sure what it was.
Yeah, and then people just turn around and give Neil the stare, like,
yeah, because they don't know what. Yeah, they don't know what he's talking about. I'm trying to see what was it, because I don't know.
And I laughed so hard that they actually went with Dale singing of the Flintstones theme.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, they actually go with Dale singing of the Flintstones. Like, whenever time I watch that part, it always makes me think of the live action Flintstones movie that with John Goodman.
Mm.
You ever seen that live action?
Oh yeah,
yeah. That scene always makes me think of that film. Yeah, and so wow, it's been an hour already.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, like, well, we still got a few more to talk about, and let's talk about how Neo is trying to get an automobile from this car place that you can actually rent a car there.
Yes, you can rent cars at airports.
Yeah, I mean, and that makes me think. I remember back when I was a kid, I remember that my parents, I mean, when I was a kid, back then they only have like two normal cars, like a 2-row car, said like 2-seat row cars. I mean, let me tell you this. Back then, when I was a kid, whenever time me and my parents go on vacation, go into Florida, and then when I used to live in my old hometown in Georgia, I mean, we used to drive down to Florida. I mean, and my parents don't want to drive the 2-row seat cars, so they want to get like a van like that has like 3-row seats, and especially the two singles in the middle. Like, my parents used to rent those kind of cars whenever time we go on vacation. to Missouri and Florida.
Mm-hmm. So are you talking about when Neil goes in there and he just loses his mind and tells off the lady?
Yeah, that's in
Yeah,
a
the one reason that scene is the only reason this movie has an R rating.
yeah, that's the reason that movie is an R rated.
Yeah, because I was like, why is this rated R? And I was watching, it's like, I still don't understand why this is rated R. And that until I get to that scene, it's like, wow, nice job, Mr. Hughes. You just put all the F bombs in one scene and then got your R rating.
Yeah.
If not for that, I would be perfectly fine with showing this to teenagers.
Yeah, and well, back then I don't have, yeah, I think did I have PG-13s?
They had PG-13 by 1987.
Yeah, I was learning like no wonder
Yeah,
this film
the
is.
PG-13 rating, it was instituted either in 1984 or 85, and it was because of two movies: Indiana
Yeah,
Jones and the Temple of Doom and Gremlins.
yeah. Is I'm planning to do a podcast episode about Gremlins next
Oh,
month.
you should, because it's a Christmas monster movie.
Yeah, I should get the whole like some of the gang with to join us. But if I can try, I mean,
Well, and
but
Gizmo's cute.
yeah, but back to the film. So yeah, those. So in that movie, Neil like discovered that the car was missing. I mean, that's why I was talking about. I explained how that my parents used to rent those kind of cars, like a van or.
I'm not entirely sure. I wish I could remember what kind of car they rented. I don't know offhand.
I think it's like a Woody kind of car, like.
Right. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure.
And I love the part when Neil was talking to that guy, and that guy just punched Neil in the face, like he fell down. He almost got ran over
by Dell.
Dell.
Yeah.
Which that car that Dell rented was actually, I think that Neil was trying to rent that car when he was frustrated earlier after the car was missing.
I don't remember, actually.
I think it does. It's like, what are you doing? I almost crushed your head like a melon. And I also laughed so hard, and at that one scene when he says, "No, I'll move my car, but I want you to help him out." It was like, no. And when the guy picked him up by grabbing Neil by the crotch.
because he ticked the guy off.
Yeah, he just grabbed
like,
Neil
wow,
by
I've never seen anybody be picked up by the testicles before.
Yeah, when me and my parents watched that party, we were like, "Ooh!" But we said it and laughing at the same time.
Right.
Especially when
I'm still trying to figure out how in the heck a cigarette lit that car on fire.
Yeah,
that was just wild. Like, something's gonna happen because the camera's focusing a lot on that cigarette, and then it's like somehow it magically lights the car on fire. Okay.
Yeah, there's no way that a cigarette can lit it.
Maybe, I don't know, but it's the point is it lights the car on fire and it makes things worse, and they have to laugh so they don't cry when the car's on fire.
Yeah. And I'll never forget one of my favorite parts when they actually switched seats after one of the seats were broken, when Neil goes to sleep and Dell just kind of listened to the radio with Ray Charles' theme of "Mess Around."
Yeah, you were listening to the song when I jumped onto StreamYard.
Yeah, and that was my waiting music. Yeah, I wish I could own that song and listen to it on
iTunes, man.
Yeah, I could always buy that song on iTunes. And yeah, and there's also another classic song in it too at the end, like "Every Time You Go Away."
Yeah, actually, can we talk about the ending?
Oh yeah,
The surprise ending?
yeah, there was also another deleted scene of that when
Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah, like right when they got to Chicago to the train station after they say goodbye and then Neil realized that Dell is homeless when he said in the other restaurant
I
is like
don't it, mm, I don't he doesn't say he's homeless. He just says that his wife's been dead for 8 years.
yeah, well when I was explaining when it was it was on the train, you think of what what Adele said in the diner in the restaurant there, and they're saying,
He said, "I haven't been home in years."
yeah, and he realized that he's homeless, and then when he got to the train station, he was he is like he doesn't know what he's doing here. You said you were going home. What are you doing here? And then Neil explained that his wife has been dead. I mean, there was also another scene, but apparently that scene has also lost. And but there were some images of Neil and Dell were sitting at a coffee shop where
Mhm.
that 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 Dell explains to Neil about his wife that there was a script of it that after his wife I think he said something about also about his kids. I mean, but I don't know. But yeah, after his wife passed away, I mean, he couldn't stand living in his home with the memory of his wife. So he just
Mm.
left his home and he packed up and made the road his home.
Ah, okay.
I think I think it says something in the lost script, and then after that, of the coffee shop, they actually walk and carry Dell's trunk, and then they actually made it home, and then but somewhere in the film, there's also another lost line and scene that I know Neil called his wife a few times. I mean, there's also a few lost scene that his wife wants to know about why Neil spends so much time with Dell that his wife thinks that Neil is having an affair. He thinks she thinks that Dell is another woman.
Oh,
There's also one.
okay.
There's also I think there's like this one line in it is that's been scratched out. Is a when Neil was talking to his wife on the phone, they say she wasn't. She's this is how the line saying it's like, "Has how's Dell?" It's like, what do you know about Dell? Dell's a jerk. Why do you want to know about Dell? And she says like, because I don't want to cut his underwear in your briefcase. And and it's and then he says like, it's funny you mentioned that. I actually washed my face off with them this morning, and then she hung up
Oh my gosh.
because she thinks he's really having an affair.
She is having an affair with another woman. Wow.
Yeah, and that's why I explained in some of the scene that she was all like worried about Neil.
Okay. The more you talk about the more you talk about these deleted scenes, the more it's like, okay, that actually would make this movie make a little more sense. But with the ending, I think I could accept it as she's just worried about him in general.
Yeah.
Is he safe? Is he going to make it home in time? That sort of a thing. Also, actually, kind of speaking of that a little bit, I would almost bet money that John Candy's character in Home Alone is this guy. It's just Dell again.
Yeah.
I like to think it is because I don't think I can't remember if he gave him, did they name him in that or not? I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to look that
Well,
up.
and also it also explains at the ending after when they got home on time and that his wife can see now that Neil was telling the truth,
Mhm.
that Dell is a guy, and she actually believed him this time. and and do you also have you noticed the one scene that when they're traveling and after they got into the car?
Oh, I was wrong. I forgot. The guy had a name, Gus Polinski, Polka King of the Midwest. I forgot about that, but it's a very similar sort of character.
Yeah. Anyway, like, and I don't know if you noticed, but in the also there's another delete scene that when they got into their burning car and the next morning after they crashed into the wall of that motel and they took off and then when they're traveling down the road, I mean, I think there was also there was I know there was a delete scene of it, but it survived. But you can still see that delete scene in the actual trailer,
Mm.
and then I think that's only the small scene. But there's also that one scene when the cop pulled them over. There's also another delete scene of that with then there's some lines, some script that when they're on the way to Chicago, that the cops said to them that they already drove past Chicago and they were in Wisconsin.
Mm.
Yeah, and suddenly Neil is starting to have an argument with Dell when the cop was here, and then they got out, when after they got out of the car, they got into a fight, and then the cop arrests them, and then suddenly they got out of court, and then I think there is a one line that he's saying, well, next time I won't touch a car. And then Neil says, we don't have a car anymore. And then I remember, I forgot a few lines in that script, but after they got out of court, I mean, that it turns out that the car that they rented was underneath Neil's pay. And then suddenly Neil just punches Dell on the eye.
This is interesting. I was looking at some stuff on John Candy. It says that he lost 100 pounds over a summer to be in this movie.
And you do notice that Dale had a black eye in that scene when the truck pull up and give them a ride back to Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
That black eye. Well, that was because that was the deleted scene that Neo punches Dell in the face after they got off court.
Oh.
Yeah, which is explained that Dell had a black eye.
Mm. I'm starting to think maybe the extended version might be in order.
Yeah, I just wish they could find those lost scenes and put them together. And so Nathan, you were. I know earlier you said that you want to talk about the end of the credits scene.
Well, I was talking more specifically about the revelation about Dell. But yeah, there is a post-credit scene that bookends it with the beginning of the movie when Neil is trying to sell a design to a business executive. And the joke is that he just keeps looking at the same thing and never says anything. And she keeps going back and forth. And he's like, we need to hurry up because I need to go back to see my family for Thanksgiving. And then it cuts to this guy and it's Thanksgiving Day and he's got a half-eaten Thanksgiving dinner and he's still trying to pick. So the joke being is like he sat here for 2 days. Now he's working on Thanksgiving.
He's still sitting there. It was like,
yeah. It caught me off guard. I mean, I just decided to sit there and just watch through the credits and I just let it play just to listen to the music, not realizing that there was a post-credit scene because Marvel movies have ruined me. So now I just wait and see if there's anything after credits in movies.
Yeah, there was, and yeah, so well, I think I just talked about everything.
Okay.
Yeah, like, so before we wrap this up, what are your thoughts about this film since you watched it for the first time?
I'm very glad that I did. I understand why this is considered such a classic. I mean, I would tell everybody, it's like, even if it's not Thanksgiving, watch this movie. It's a classic for a reason. It's got an amazing cast, especially John Candy and Steve Martin, there, who are at the tops of their game in this. And it's John Hughes also at the top of his game, branching out a little bit, not doing teen angst comedy. He's doing something a little more grown up. It's full of heart, and these are both wonderful characters that you can get behind, and the chemistry between the two of them is what really makes this movie work. So I highly recommend this to anyone, and just be aware, if you got sensitive ears, just watch out for the one scene where angry Steve Martin goes to tell off the lady about the rental car. And that's like the only time you have to, like, tell the kids to go to the bathroom or something, just like, I was like, oh, go to the bathroom, come back in a couple of minutes. Otherwise they should be fine.
Yeah. Or if you're watching that film on cable, on TV, they actually cut off those those swear words. And but yeah, it is a really great classic Thanksgiving movie. It's like one of John Hughes' best films ever made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is still one of my favorites, and it still makes me laugh to this day, and it never gets old. And the hilarious scenes, and it is still a great comedy.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And this film will always be remembered of one of John Hughes and John Candy.
Mm-hmm. And Steve Martin. Let's be honest, Steve Martin too.
Yeah, and even though that we lost a few stars of this film, and those two stars will always make me think of this film.
Mm-hmm.
It's especially Steve Martin. Whenever time I watch Only Murders in the Building, or every time he appears, he always makes me think of his character of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Mm-hmm.
You should definitely watch Only Murders in the Building someday.
Okay.
Nathan, if you have Hulu.
I do.
Yeah, it's a really good show. And
okay.
Yeah, so I want to say thank you so much for joining me, Nathan, again as my backup, and because you're always there for me every time I do episodes. We're like, because you're like my partner. And
don't tell that to your girlfriend.
What?
Never mind. Anyway, it went over your head. It's okay.
Yeah, it's just we're podcast partners.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to say that. I was trying to joke that you like me more than your girlfriend, and so don't let her know that.
Don't get any. I'm straight.
Not exactly like that, but okay. Make it weird. Congratulations, you made it weird. I guess that makes you the Dell in this situation.
You make us sound like that one scene.
Yes, exactly.
Like it's like, you want a shower? No. Oh, I was saying you'll go first. Oh yeah. Oh, I would have never. Yeah, you make us sounds like that one scene.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Anyways, for those who are for watching, thank you for watching, and thank you again, Nathan, for joining me for this Thanksgiving episode. And
it was a pleasure.
Yeah, hopefully I'll have you again on my show someday, and who knows, maybe I'll do like a Christmas podcast episode next month.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if Kim is going to do her charity live stream, so I don't know. Part of me is a little tempted to do it for her.
Yeah,
we'll see. I don't know. I'm still kicking around.
Who knows? Because usually the holidays are crazily busy, especially Thanksgiving and Christmas. But
I wouldn't have it any other way. I love Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah, I love those both. I mean,
yeah, the last few months, the holidays, they're some of my favorite. I love Halloween. I love Thanksgiving. I love Christmas. New Year's is fun.
Yeah. But yeah, so thank you for joining me, Nathan, and thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time, and happy Thanksgiving.